Trust me, I know how frustrating it is to lose weight only to gain it back. Even worse is when you end up gaining even more than you lost. If this has been you, maybe more times than you'd like to admit, don't worry, you're not alone, and there's a reason this always happens. Fortunately, I not only know why, but today I'm going to show you how to lose the weight for good so you can live a happy, healthy life. Hey, this is Colin DeWay. If you want to master your metabolism and create forever results, start now by subscribing and click on that bell notification so you don't miss anything. Alright, I have 7 important tips for you to make sure you finally create lasting results. And jumping right into it, the number 1 tip I can possibly give you is to get away from the all or nothing approach. This is an absolute killer, yet is very common, and this often stems from an unhealthy relationship with food, but I will get to that in a minute. But the problem with the all or nothing approach is it will always end in nothing. I mean, when has it ever not? And I think a big reason for this thought process is you feel like you need to be perfect in order to reach your goals, but it's just not true. In fact, I would argue it's chasing perfection that's the very thing that gets most people to give up, because perfection is not obtainable for more than short periods of time. So you're better off being 80% on most of the time than you are being 100% on less than half the time. Now this brings me to my second point, which ties in perfectly with number 1, and that's you need to create a healthy relationship with food. When most people look at food, they typically see them as either good or bad. Broccoli is good for you, ice cream is bad for you. Kale is the superfood that will melt all your fat, donuts will instantly pack on 10 pounds. Do some foods have better nutritional profiles than others? Absolutely. But that doesn't mean eating anything that you deem as bad will instantly make you fat. In fact, looking at foods you love as bad and feeling guilty when you eat them is likely one of the biggest reasons you fall into the all or nothing trap. Really, one of the worst things you can possibly do to set yourself up for failure is to place morality on food. Food is a large part of our lives, whether we like it or not. It's always going to be a part of celebrations and get-togethers. Food can bring us joy and happiness, but it can also bring us guilt and negative thoughts. But food isn't good or bad or right or wrong, it's just food. And one of the big problems with looking at foods that you love as something that you shouldn't have is it automatically makes you want it more. Not only that, but if you feel like it's off limits, I can promise you there will be a time again when you will have it. Maybe it's at a party, maybe it's a weak moment in the grocery store or at a restaurant. You only have so much willpower. And when that time comes, you feel like you can never have it again. So since you're off plan, you need to eat as much of it as you can because your diet starts again tomorrow. Not only does this cause negative emotions and excessive overeating, but the real problem is you don't even get to enjoy it. You feel so bad about it, the whole time you're just feeling anxious and you feel like I shouldn't be doing this, I shouldn't be eating this right now. And that's no way to live your life. What if you just enjoyed a piece of cake at your kid's birthday party? What if you just enjoyed a burger because you like burgers and you don't feel bad about it? And there is no reason to feel bad about it. Much like you can't get healthy from eating one salad, you can't become unhealthy by eating one piece of cake. Besides, let's say for instance you're looking at the nutritional value of a sweet potato versus a donut. Yes, on its own, side by side, a sweet potato is going to have a higher nutrient profile than a donut will. But I can make the argument if being okay with eating that donut will help you feel satisfied and keep you on your plan, whereas eating the sweet potato might make you feel more restricted and end up making you binge later, then I would argue in that case the donut was actually a better and healthier option. Now, of course, you don't want to just take this and say, well, I should just eat whatever I want then in whatever quantities I want and it doesn't matter. That's not what I'm saying. And absolutely, a large portion of your diet should be minimally processed foods, more nutrient-dense foods, things like a lot of fruits and veggies and lean proteins. But we also need to be able to live and enjoy our lives, and food is a big part of that. So if you want to lose weight and keep it off, creating a healthy relationship with food is a really important part of this process. And remember, food does not have morality, so there's no reason to feel guilty when you eat anything. Okay, you may be thinking that's all well and good, but how do I go about undoing years of thought patterns? How can I lose weight while including my favorite foods? After all, everywhere you look, there's a new diet with a name popping up promising to be the next secret to success. Each one of them constantly telling you to avoid a certain food if you want to lose the fat. One tells you low fat is the answer, while another tells you to eat high fat. One group tells you not to eat meat, while the other tells you the key is to only eat meat. Each one claims to have the magic solution, usually while trying to sell you that solution. And yet, all groups can show examples of successful weight loss. So clearly one isn't right or wrong, but where do you even start? Well, first off, let's put to rest the argument between what's better, low carb or low fat. The truth? It doesn't matter. This was shown in a year-long study with over 600 participants where they equated calories and protein but had groups eat either more calories from carbs or fat. And what it showed was there was no significant difference between the two groups. So what does this tell us? It tells us that it doesn't really matter when it comes to weight loss and you should do what you prefer because sustainability is the key to a successful diet. One thing I really want to point out and drive home though is notice that they equated calories and protein. This is key because they are basically the two biggest factors when it comes to weight loss. Research has shown time and time again that people who eat more protein tend to weigh less, and this is likely for a few different reasons. One is protein has by far the highest thermic effect of food between protein, carbs, and fat, so by eating more protein, you're just going to burn more calories just processing the food you eat. Two is protein is what helps build and maintain muscle mass, and the more muscle you have, the faster your metabolism will be, the more calories you burn at rest. And three, protein is by far the most filling macronutrient, so as calories get lower, you're more naturally going to be hungry. If you're eating more protein, hunger won't be as bad, just makes it easier to stick to the plan and get better results. So anyway, if we know that calories and protein are the most important things, and if you want to include foods that you enjoy in your diet while seeing results, then what's the best way to do this? Well, that brings me to my third point, which is track your intake, at least for a while. Now you might hear track your intake and immediately think that's not something you want to do, nor is it sustainable. After all, we just talked about the importance of sustainability, but here's the thing. While you don't necessarily have to track forever, you do need to educate yourself on what's in the foods you eat, what portion sizes look like, and build the knowledge that lasts you a lifetime. By tracking macronutrients, you learn how you can include some of the foods you like while seeing results. But if you go on some diet plan with a name that tells you to eat this and not eat that, it doesn't teach you anything other than how to create an unhealthy relationship with food. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that none of these diets with a name can work for some people. Some people love them and can sustain them, and by all means, if that's you, then you should do what works best for you. But I'm guessing since you're watching a video called How to Lose Weight and Keep It Off, you haven't found that to be true. Tracking macronutrients, however, teaches you that nothing is off limits, and this is how you will likely get to a point where you can eat more intuitively, because how can you be intuitive if you have no clue what's in the foods you eat? So tracking not only helps set you up to build the knowledge for a lifetime of success, but it's also going to be the thing that will tell you for sure if you're in a calorie deficit or not. And in order to lose weight, no matter how you're doing it, you have to be in a caloric deficit for that to work. It doesn't matter what any calculator or anything else says, if you're not losing weight, you're not in a calorie deficit. Now I could go on and on about how to find your maintenance calories, about how to set up macros, about how to make sure you're in a calorie deficit. But I already have a video going over all that, so rather than make this video any longer than it already has to be, I'll go ahead and send you to that other video at the end of this one. Now don't go anywhere because there's still a lot of important things I need to tell you to make sure you create lasting results. All right, let's move on to the fourth point I have to make, and it's a big one. This is not one that a lot of people think of, but it's one that's super important, and that is to make sure you let go of any limiting beliefs that you have. It's so natural and easy to start thinking of all the reasons why you can't do this. Maybe you think you just have bad genetics and are destined to be big. Maybe you think getting in shape is only for those who are lucky. One thing that's really common is to predict your future based on past experiences. Well, I've always been this way, so it'll never change. Or I've tried and failed so many times before, why will this time be any different? But these beliefs are so dangerous because you don't even realize you're literally using being yourself as an excuse. I mean, think about it. If you're saying things like, I can't do it because I'm me, or I always fail because I'm me, you're basically saying, I was just born this way and I have no control over my actions. And that's not true. You're capable of so much more than you think you are. You just have to stop giving up when things get tough, which I know is difficult, but it's so important. And I know this isn't exactly a popular message, but it is going to be difficult. No matter how sustainable we make things, no matter how flexible you're going to be, it's still going to be a difficult process, and it's supposed to be that way. Anything in life worth having is going to be difficult. If it were easy, every person out there would be living their dreams, and there's a reason very few people are. But the beauty here is, the thing that so few people understand is that the harder it is to accomplish something, the more rewarding it is when it finally happens. Truthfully, that's the most underrated aspect of this lifestyle. I mean, think about it. When have you ever been proud of anything in your life that came easy? When has something that's been easy ever changed you? Accomplishing difficult tasks is just so rewarding. It does so much to build your confidence. It's so empowering. And if you stick with it, in time, I can without question guarantee you, you will start to accomplish things that you didn't think were possible. And as you do this, you will start to believe more and more, and it will have so much carryover into everything else in your life, you can't even possibly fathom how big of a deal this really is. When I was younger, before I really got into this lifestyle and lifting consistently, I did not have a lot of confidence. I had pretty low confidence, honestly. But when I got really serious about fitness, I started to do these things that I didn't think I could do. And I started to build this confidence, and I started thinking, like, what else can I do? Like, if I can do this, I'm probably capable of doing a lot more. Everything in life started to improve because of the confidence built inside the gym. And this is something I see with others all the time too. Pretty much anyone who has success with weight loss or whatever it is with their fitness goals, it's not even that weight or that look that they're proud of by the time they get there. It's all the things that happen along the way. It's the not giving up when things got hard. And these are the things that truly change you from the inside out, and they're the things that matter at the end of the day. People think it's all about this weight is gonna make you happy, but that's not how it works. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So while you may not believe that you can do something right now, you do have to believe that it's possible with consistent effort. And the reason for this? Well, why would you put in the effort if you didn't even think it was possible? You have to believe. All right, stick with me. I know there's a lot here, but I'm telling you, this is not stuff you're gonna wanna miss, and it could be things that change your life. So let's go on to the next point. And that's that you need to have a lot of patience. This can't be a diet. This has to be a lifestyle. And the reason for this is because diets just don't work. When people go on diets, what they typically do is say, I'm gonna go ahead and do this until I'm done. But you can't be done, ever. What happens when you're done? You go back to your old habits and you just gain the weight back. Now, this doesn't mean there aren't times to back off. There certainly are, and you certainly should. I'm not about going hard and going home. I think that's a terrible philosophy. You do need to take breaks. You do need to be willing to back off sometimes, but you can't ever just be done completely. Again, it has to be a lifestyle. So don't care how long it takes. It doesn't matter. Think big picture. Focus on finding things that you enjoy about the process and that will excite you and keep you coming back again and again, and not something that you just want to do because you think it's the best way to lose weight. Because honestly, it doesn't matter how well something works to lose weight if you're not going to keep doing it when the weight is gone. And if this is something you have to do forever, then why does it matter how long it takes? Quite frankly, I can pretty much promise you, the more pressure you put on yourself to do this as fast as possible, the more likely you are to fail. Guaranteed. Besides, one of the most important things you can do, not only to see results, but to be more importantly happy, is my 6th point, and that's learning to love yourself at any weight, but still striving to improve. Body image is a huge issue for many people. Nobody wants to feel uncomfortable in their own skin, and if you're heavier than you want to be, it's only natural to want to get the weight off as fast as you can. But the problem is, if all you care about is how much you weigh, you will always feel unfulfilled because your weight isn't the thing that will make you happy. Nobody ever successfully hates their body into something healthy and happy. You have to love yourself enough to want to take care of it. And understand how much body fat you carry has nothing to do with who you are as a person. Besides, even if you do get where you want to be with your weight, that's never going to be the thing that makes you happy. Yeah, it's going to feel good. It'll feel good for a moment. You'll be proud. You'll be happy about it. But you basically just end up going, well, now what? Honestly, keeping the weight off is much more difficult than losing the weight is to begin with. And there's a few reasons for this, which is going to bring me to my 7th point. Your metabolism will always adapt to whatever you do. So nothing you do will ever work forever. Meaning that you're probably going to have to accept that, especially if you have a lot of weight to lose, you're not going to do it all in one attempt. Do not get stubborn and push when the body is fighting you and it's not there. You have to understand that it's literally your body just doing what it's supposed to do, and that's keep you from starving to death. So either way, whether you reach your goal or whether you're stuck and you can't lose anymore, you should start working your calories back up with a process called reverse dieting to improve your metabolism. So either if you reach your goal, you don't have to live your whole life eating these low calories, or if you haven't, you can get your metabolism back into a spot where you can more successfully lose more weight later. Now, the process of reverse dieting is kind of complex, and I have a whole playlist on reverse dieting on my channel that you can check out if you want. But the basic premise is you slowly increase calories so your body can adapt and not store a bunch of extra body fat during the process. But a good strategy for a lot of people is to just increase maybe 50 to 100 calories until your calories get back into a better place. This is a hell of a lot better than what most people do when they can't lose weight anymore and say, screw it, this is too hard, I give up. And then they go back to their old eating habits, but they do so with a much slower metabolism than they had before. The weight comes back on really fast. This is why a lot of times you gain more weight than you lost to begin with, because you had slowed it down. And especially if you were overly restrictive, you end up binging on all these foods that you restricted the whole time. You feel like, what's the point? And the weight comes back on super fast. And even worse is the more times you do this, the worse your metabolism gets, and it gets harder and harder to lose weight each passing time you come back to lose again. And tell me that's not something you've noticed if you've gone through this multiple times. It always gets harder, and this is why. And this is why the quick fixes just do not work. They're basically starvation diets, and this does bring us right back to the importance of patience. Sure, you may lose weight faster up front with a starvation diet, but the problem is your body will adapt to this and you have no room to make more adjustments when this happens and you get stuck. Then you get frustrated, you go back to your old eating habits, and the yo-yo dieting cycle just continues. Whereas the more sustainable approach, sure, you don't lose as much in the beginning phases, but you can keep seeing progress long term and you end up losing much more weight down the road. And it really is like the old tortoise and the hare fable. Slow and steady really does win the race. And it's important to point out here that if you do reverse, you have to be okay with gaining a little bit of weight back for the greater good of being able to get the rest off later. Understand there's a big difference between gaining a little bit of weight back and all the weight back. Desperate people do desperate things, and desperate things never bring lasting results. All right, as mentioned, make sure you check out this top video for how to calculate macros for weight loss. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below, and I'll see you in that other video.